Hey everybody, welcome to Get to Know Your Wedding Pro. My name is Reed with Best Made Videos. We are a wedding videography company based out of West Seattle, Washington. And today I'm joined by Carol Lewis of Inspired Radiance Beauty. We connected at the Seattle Wedding Show last week. You were there with Amanda, who is another podcast guest from the past. And I said, hey, I really need someone to come on with the holidays, and people are, trying to get back to work, and you stepped up, and I'm so thankful. And it means a lot. And I do say that the people that take the time to come on here, it is really appreciated. And it speaks a lot to just, people's drive to want to do good. So thank you so much. Why don't you introduce yourself? Tell us who you are and what you do.
Hi, Reed. Thanks for having me. My name is Cara Lewis, and I am a hair and makeup artist with my company, Inspired Radiance Beauty. And I have a passion for doing hair and makeup for all different kinds of events. And I do work with Amanda House Photography. And so I have been doing a lot of high school senior girls. And I also do wedding hair and makeup on the side as well. So.
And what do you prefer? What's your, where do you prefer to work, kind of in what realm?
They're two completely different worlds, because with weddings, it's a lot of, more escalated hairstyles and makeup looks. And so there's more updos and fancy and elegant things involved. Whereas with like a high school senior shoot, it's a lot more like natural, but like your best looking version of how you look every day. So it's really two completely different things. And I just like making people feel good. So I like all of it.
Well, you have to imagine there's kind of heightened tension, whether it's a wedding or like a high school senior, that, there's still a lot of tension there to do it right.
Absolutely true. Well, and especially nowadays with doing high school senior sessions, it's kind of like your pre-trial for your wedding day. It's a whole production. It's, typically in the industry that I work in with the high school seniors, it's 2 hours of hair and makeup. There's multiple outfit changes when you're on shoot. And, it is a really big deal. You get an entire spread, and it's, similar with a wedding. Those are photos that you have for the rest of your life in either scenario. So yeah, it's gotten pretty elaborate, but it's a lot of fun to do. You get to feel like a celebrity for a day, and that's pretty awesome.
Well, and absolutely. And I mean, I think I joked with Amanda or someone that was on the podcast that, my mom had my high school photos in our, until she sold our childhood home for years and years. And every time I came home, and you'd always see that. And it really is, I don't know. It's like the first big, I had no idea. I mean, I went through that whole thing too. I guess I didn't realize how big it was. And I think it's even bigger now. I mean, I went to, graduated high school in 2004. I mean, it's a lot more. I mean, I think it's gotten even bigger, right?
Oh yeah, it's definitely gotten bigger. And that's funny because I graduated in 2004 too. And it was definitely not as upscale or, as big of a deal then. And same, like those high school senior pictures they get put in everything and they're all over the place, and they're sent to every relative you have. And it is a really big deal. It's something that you keep for forever.
Yeah, mine are just terrible. I mean, I've always had like questionable like fashion taste, and I mean, I have my jersey on right now, but like they were just so bad, and like I had these like ear piercings and like a bandana. I mean, they were really bad.
Nice.
But I think I can't remember who we had, but someone certainly did their best to try to take good photos and make it look good.
You just have to kind of own yourself where you're at. I've got 2 young kids. I have they're not that young anymore. Actually, my son is 10 and my daughter is 7. And they both definitely have their own sense of fashion that they've had since they understood they could put clothes on themselves. And I've always really encouraged that, because I think whether it's jewelry or accessories or your clothing, like that is a very vivid expression of who you are, where you're at in your life. And I think that's awesome to be able to kind of have that outlet to do that. Even if you look back and completely regret it, that's exactly who you were at that time. And that's cool.
No, yeah, my mom would come home from work, and I would always have a costume that I wanted for daycare the next day. And so she would come home, like 6 o'clock from work, and I'd say, like, I want to be a pirate tomorrow, or I want to be, I don't know, whatever it was. Yes. And so obviously it's maintained till today. So I think any fashion choice I've ever made is because of that. So that's awesome.
That's awesome.
So you're based down south in Puyallup. I mean, obviously you travel all over. How did you kind of get involved in this whole world, and kind of take me back as far as we need to kind of get to the roots of it?
Yeah, so I've been doing hair and makeup professionally for about 5 years now, but I started doing my friends' hair and makeup for school dances and stuff when I was in high school. And I have been obsessed with makeup for as long as I can remember, ever since I could beg my mom to buy me the, Wet and Wild blue eyeshadow and hot pink Barbie lipstick. Like that just, I knew that I was a girly girl that wanted to put on my makeup before I went mudding with my brother's friends. So I've been doing hair and makeup for pretty much always. It's just been part of who I am. And I'm really grateful that I got the opportunity to, I kind of got in with a salon that did specifically on-site weddings. And that gave me a lot of really good experience. And so I just kind of went with it on my own from there. And a lot of my technique and talent is just self-taught. I've done a lot of research and I've had a lot of friends that have let me just take over their faces and heads. And, it's just something that I'm truly passionate about and I love. And I really feel especially a soft spot for girls that say, well, I just don't know how to do it, so I don't wear makeup, and for me, I just kind of have a knack for it. And so I love showing girls that, you see your face a very specific way every day. And I get to show you a different version that I can envision that you couldn't see on yourself. And so I've loved this my whole life. And I'm so grateful that I get to do it for a job today. It's literally a dream come true for me.
Do you, when, you're more self-taught, do you find that that's more freeing, just kind of being able to, I guess, take bits and pieces? I mean, I know people that have gone through like a specific school, or I don't know, like maybe you get more kind of like, say, like if I went to film school and like you're a little bit more taught that, where you were kind of able to pick and choose as you go. Talk about kind of just developing that kind of palette that you have to work.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, I feel like I do get to have a lot of creative expression, just kind of going with my gut. And, I do kind of have a formula that I've established for myself of, like a process of how I do things or specific products that I like or I know work well for a wide variety of people. And that's the hardest part of being specifically a makeup artist is, a lot of people can do amazing things on their own makeup, but to translate that to somebody else's different facial features, different eye shapes, different skin textures. I mean, there's an art to that. And I don't know, I just enjoy kind of assessing it as I go. And I have picked up some good things along the way. But yeah, I'm actually pretty grateful that I've just been able to kind of glean information from a bunch of different places and create my own technique to do it.
Is it hard? I know that sometimes, trying to make people, the makeup and you want to kind of enhance what's there and not, you want them to look, like when the bride or whatever walks in and you want everyone to know who it is still. And I've done weddings where you look back and you're like, wow, that's like not even the same person. Like, how is it, kind of balancing that for you? And is that like education you work with your clients about, or how do you kind of balance that?
I do. One of my mottos is that I want you to be the best version of you, but I want you to see yourself in the mirror when you look at yourself, because I feel like if you're wanting to change everything up and that's what you're going for, or if it's Halloween, like that's great. And we can do that. But especially on your wedding day, you want to feel the best version of yourself. And so I start out by asking clients if they have specific requests, but I will let them know as I'm going what I plan on doing and, how I'm going to enhance what they come with. And same with hairstyles, they can show me pictures and say, well, I want this huge braid. And I have to say, okay, well, we can do something similar and work with what you have. There's probably, 7 extensions in that model's hair to get that look. But, I try to adjust everything and customize it to specifically the client that I'm working on with what they have, because everybody comes with different material. And the fun for me is it's a puzzle and I get to figure out how to give them what they want with what they're presenting me with.
With weddings specifically, as hair and makeup, you guys are, we talk about this on the podcast, you're there bright and early, you're kind of really setting the day, the mood, and you're really in with all of them. You're in, the bride's face or, the bridesmaids or whoever's there. And I mean, how do you kind of approach that and do you enjoy kind of setting that tone and being a part of that and kind of being in that world in terms of like the getting ready? And it's really an important part of the day.
Absolutely. I'm a people person and I love kind of helping to navigate the emotional feeling in the room. And, I kind of look at it as I'm the bartender of the beauty world. Like my job is to set people at ease. And, weddings are so crazy and they're so busy and there's so much to be done. And even morning of, there's ends up being so many decisions that need to be made. And so for me, I really take it as an opportunity to just create this very safe, relaxing, and enjoyable environment as much as I have in my control to be able to, inspire trust in them with me that, I'm going to take good care of them. They're going to get the results that they want. And that this is probably the most they'll be sitting down all day. So really enjoy that, relax. A lot of my brides, I'll give a quick shoulder massage before I start their hair just to kind of help them really take a second to just breathe, be present in the moment because the day goes by so fast. And to be able to have that moment to just really cherish the quiet, being with your closest people that you love, and just taking that all in. I really love being able to do that.
Was it, when you were starting to get into hair and makeup and you're starting to get into doing, higher budget, even like the high school stuff, but just, a lot of money involved in weddings and stuff. I mean, was it, intimidating going into that world? I mean, it's different than, obviously doing it like in high school or for friends. Like, what was it like for you kind of just starting to do it professionally like that?
Oh yeah, the stakes definitely go up when you understand how much, financially is going into this event, and it is an event, and for me, it was a little bit nerve-wracking at first, but I think it's just one of those things that the more you do it, the more comfortable you become with the environment. And I also gained a lot more trust and confidence in my own abilities when I was able to, really recognize that I belong here. I can do what I can, say that I can do, and I can deliver what you're asking. And, people are very satisfied. And one of my signature things that I do is as soon as I finish with, the hair or the makeup, and I usually encourage them not to look at them individually, to wait until it's all done, because one always looks more overdone than the other until you see them together. And I always make a point to say, let me know if you want any changes, because any changes you want can be made. We're not dyeing your hair. We're not cutting your hair. None of this is permanent, and we can adjust anything. So, giving them that opportunity to speak up and, that I won't take it personally. I'm a professional. I just want them to be thrilled. I think that also helps a lot. And it gives me some room to be able to adjust and make sure that they're really happy, especially when they're paying top dollar for this. I want everyone to love the experience and love the results.
Do you find, and I kind of ask this with any vendor type, just things that you wish people ask more about, or things that you find yourself like answering the same questions or wishing people knew more when it comes to hair and makeup? Like, what kinds of things do you feel like you're constantly kind of educating clients and you wish more people knew?
That's a really interesting question. It's a lot of people don't understand, specifically on weddings, that a really good night's sleep the day before you're going to be in front of cameras, makeup can only do so much, and I can do some correction, but drinking lots of water and having lots of sleep, even though oftentimes there's, a rehearsal dinner and things, it's really important. And I wish that I could get that word out there to really just try and take that moment to rest, because there's only so much that I can do when it gets to a certain point. But also, I think just kind of coming prepared with an idea of what you want, or at least what you don't want. And, part of my job is to advise, and I will have people sit in my chair that say, I have no idea, do whatever you want. So then I get to, ask very specific questions and really kind of narrow down where their normal feel is and go with that. But yeah, definitely sleep and hydration are super important.
That's funny. Yeah, you show up and they've been up since 2 a.m. or something, and you need to definitely kind of have a fresh palette to work on. That's funny. Yeah,
for sure.
What's the process look like, kind of working with you and having you involved in, and you could talk through it as a wedding, but then, obviously other events and photo shoots. What does the process look like? How do you like to work with your clients? How involved are you in kind of that whole just start to finish?
Yeah. So with brides specifically, I usually like to do a pre-session with them, which is a separate appointment before their wedding day so that we can have kind of a trial run of everything. And I'll have them bring all of their accessories, veil, jewelry. I usually have them wear a white shirt so they can really get a feel for what they want and we can kind of troubleshoot everything. So that way they feel more comfortable morning of if they, have slept on it and, as time has gone by, they've decided they want changes, or if they absolutely love it, then they already know what their look is going to be like. And it's something they don't have to be anxious about or stress about at all because they already know that they love the look. With bridesmaids, like I said, I start with that consultation of asking them, what they want, what they're wearing. And for me, it's just all an assessment process and then going through, piece by piece and putting on the different layers of makeup because makeup is layering. There's a lot of products that you put on even for a natural look to naturally enhance somebody's features. It does take a certain art form and it does take products and it takes good quality products and techniques to do that. And along with hair, a common misconception is that freshly washed hair is actually not the way to go because it's so slippery and fresh. It doesn't want to hold styles. So a couple days, in is a lot better because it will tend to hold the styles better. But yeah, with high school seniors, it's kind of actually the same process as just going through and asking what they want or what they don't want, going through their outfits so I can kind of pick what colors are going to best flatter each look as a cohesive look. And that's a lot of fun part of my job. I enjoy doing that.
Yeah, the whole hair washing thing and the multiple, I never knew any of that world till I got married. And there's definitely like you wash it, you can get a couple days out of it and it looks better. And then, but then it can't be too washed, but then it can't be too greasy or too oily. And, guys, it's like, I just shower every day. I don't think about it, but it's definitely a funny world that we got. Doing this kind of as long as you have now, have you seen lots of, trends with, makeup styles over the last 6 years or different, what's more important now, or are people worrying about one thing or another? What has it been like kind of just seeing everything for the last couple of years like you have?
Oh yeah, the beauty world is constantly in flux and there's always different things that are trending and, a lot of things that, disappear for a few years and then cycle back. And, so big eyebrows have been a thing for a long time. Very prominent block eyebrows were huge. Eyebrows seem to be a big one that changed a lot. But even just from like really dramatic smoky eyes to right now, everything is pretty natural, but with like a lot of like drama, like lashes, because lash extensions are so big right now. A lot of girls want very natural face makeup, but they really want their eyes to pop. So it's this balance of figuring out, what is between like a very dark, like evening look as opposed to a daytime look, but photo appropriate. Because also if your makeup is going to be in photos, it's different than the natural makeup you would wear during the daytime because, cameras, the lighting will change, things will look differently. And so for me, it's been really fun to work, with high school seniors and with Amanda, because I get to see the results afterwards oftentimes as well. So that I know how to adjust things like a natural lip color on camera can actually be, somewhat bold in person to where I have to remind the girls, like, I promise this is going to look nude, and it does. So that's, one of the reasons why it helps me to be able to kind of coach them and also, instill that trust while we're chatting and I'm, getting them ready of, I do know what I'm talking about. You're going to look amazing. Just roll with it. Even if it's not quite what you expected or what you would wear to the mall, this is going to look fabulous.
No, it's funny you brought up like the eyelash thing. I had to do this video, I guess it was like 2 weeks ago. And this, she does like, the glue on, the eyelash, the extensions and all that. But I mean, this woman came in, it was like a 2.5 hour thing. And she got like the eyelashes, but then there was like glitter eyelashes. And it was like, it was the damnedest thing I'd ever seen. And like to think that, I said, well, how often? Like, oh, you got to come in like I can't remember what they said, like 4 to 6 weeks or something like that. I was like, man, like 2.5 hours every 4. I'm like, that's a huge like commitment, And this girl, she's just like worked at Boeing, like she just wanted, it wasn't like it was for anything. I mean, it was just like day to day, whatever. And I was like, wow, like that's a lot. That's a big commitment,
It is. Yeah, the eyelash extension trend is huge right now. And me, because I'm an eye rubber and I sleep on my face, it just is never going to work for me. They're a little bit finicky. But yeah, I want to say it is every 4 to 6 weeks because it's based on the lash growth cycle. So everybody's eyelashes, as they grow out, they will naturally fall out. And then obviously the extension will go with it, which is why a lot of times, before girls to go to get in their fill, you'll end up with gaps. And so they are kind of high maintenance, but at the same time, if you're a more low maintenance makeup person and you have no problems dedicating that kind of time to getting them done, it makes a huge difference to be able to just wake up. You already look like you've got your face together because your eyes are usually the first thing that people, will notice on your face, either your eyes or your smile. So to have your lashes already dark and lengthened, it immediately looks more put together.
Oh, it was the damnedest thing. And I mean, I'm not like an eye person. And so I'm like filming this and it's like, really, and I mean, it's a lot, I don't know if I could have someone kind of do that. And, I don't know. It's intense. I was thinking too, about where you work with, younger, high school and kind of going into college and then also the brides. I mean, do you feel like, because they're obviously going to age up, to like the marrying age, do you feel like you get a sense of some of those trends and stuff, just dealing with both, maybe a little bit older bride, but then like kind of younger going up? Like, do you see kind of both sides of that? Like what's going to be, hip in another couple years or whatever?
Yeah, I mean, it's really interesting too, working with some more mature brides who tend to be a little bit more conservative, and a lot of them are more focused on their skin looking really great and making sure that everything looks very youthful and fresh. You don't want anything to look old or cakey or crepey. Whereas when you're working with high school girls, like their skin is the best it's probably ever going to be. And so they really want like, their eyes and their lips. And so it is really funny to see kind of the differences, even between like the age groups. But with high school seniors, it can be a little more intimidating too, because a lot of them coming into this, they're a lot more into fashion because they have so many resources available to them via social media platforms. And so a lot of them are already really well versed in specific things that they like and want. And it was a little intimidating for me coming into this because, I'm 34, so I'm kind of in the middle there, but it was like, I was nervous at one point that some of them may be asking me to do something really trendy that I didn't know how to do yet. So that's part of, for me, I have to continue my self-education and continue to watch, keep up on things on Instagram and YouTube and try and stay with what's present for girls right now. And it changes a lot. There's a lot of information to take in.
Well, and I think that's relevant kind of for any vendor type where, I mean, for the most part, the marrying age is going to be, I mean, there's a range, but but generally it's kind of within a younger, at least like the couples that we work with and, like we don't get any younger. And so it's trying to like stay hip with that. And, like with DJs and photographers and, we all show up and like, you're going to be like 55 shooting weddings, right? You got to be a little bit more, you can't be a 55-year-old, you got to be a little more hip and with kind of what's happening,
Right. Yeah, no, that's absolutely true. And one of the funny things about working with Amanda is she's awesome because she's constantly telling me of all of these things that these girls are trending on. And so she'll buy us like, what's popular in jewelry. And we've got like water bottles and like all of these different things that I'm like, I would never have known that was hip, but we heard it from one of our girls. And it does, at times it makes me feel really old. And then it also makes me feel like, oh yeah, I know what's going on here.
No, it's insane. I had a client and her middle school daughter was in, and I think she was like, 7th grade or whatever. And like, we're talking and I was like, this is like a totally different world. Like, it's really weird to be, to feel really old, and I know that like early 30s is that old, but to be talking to these kids and be like, I just feel like we're on like a totally different planet.
Oh, 100%. I mean, like I said, my son is 10 and he's super into gaming. And so all of these Fortnite dances that he's constantly trying to teach me to do and then makes fun of me when I can't do them. And I'm just like, I don't understand anything you guys are talking about right now.
The worst was we were talking and I was like, I said, well, what's the big hit bands right now? Like what's going on? And she's like, we really like Fall Out Boy and Panic at the Disco. And I'm like, holy crap, like that's like what I like,
Right.
And I was like, this is really weird because they like a lot of these bands like went away and like Blink-182 was popular again. And so then we were going to the show, we were going to go see Panic at the Disco. And I told my buddy, I said, I think there's going to be a lot of really young kids here. And like, we were like by far like the oldest people there. And I was like, this is insane that like, I don't know, we're off on a tangent, but yeah, it was like crazy. I was like, this is really odd to be talking with this, she was like, probably like your son's age, like 10 or 11 and be like, we were listening to like the same bands. It's very odd.
Maybe it's just because parents are really awesome because like I love Panic at the Disco and so my kids listen to it with me. So maybe we're just doing our job. Maybe that's what's happening.
Good. So talk to me about kind of your home life and what do you do when you're not, doing, makeup and what do you do, with your kids and for fun and talk about that.
Yeah, so I am a single mom with 2 kids, and when I'm not doing the hair and makeup gigs, I hold a couple other different part-time jobs. I clean houses on the side, and I'm also an assistant for the CEO of a plumbing company. So I just kind of am a jack of all trades, and I do a little bit of everything. And I really enjoy hanging out with my friends and. When I don't have my kids, I keep pretty busy and I have a pretty close circle of people that I hang out with often. And, I enjoy being outside. I love music. I'm constantly listening to music and having solo dance parties in my house because I'm a total nerd like that. And, this is kind of a new transition for me as far as singlehood goes. So I'm still just kind of trying to figure out what I like to do. And, in my free time, just figuring out who I am, and it's been a very interesting journey, but I'm really enjoying life as it is right now.
And you have 2 boys?
10-year-old son, 7-year-old daughter, so one of each.
So you'll get to impart a little bit of the beauty knowledge on the hopefully, right, and kind of. I don't know how the Fortnite works with that, but you can impart a little bit more on your daughter, right?
Yeah, oh yeah, she is her mother's daughter. She is such a girly girl. I taught her at 5 years old to paint her own nails because I got tired of her constantly asking me to do it every single day because she always wanted to change the colors. So, but yeah, she's already into makeup and, with age appropriate, I have to try and kind of rein it in and keep her young as long as I can, but she definitely has a fascination with it. And my son is really interested in like special effects makeup and stuff like that. So we'll watch, TV shows where they do prosthetic makeups and things like that. And he thinks that's really cool. So I try to just kind of encourage whatever they want to do. And if they're interested in it, we look into it. So.
And did you grow up in the area?
No, I actually grew up in a very tiny podunk town in Idaho called McCall. And I moved up in this area. I met my kids' dad was from here. And so I've been in Washington for about 11 years now. And I love it. I don't see myself going anywhere anytime soon. Love this area.
What was that transition like to come kind of into, Puyallup's outside Seattle, but it's still kind of, just a bigger area by far than obviously the middle of Idaho.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's actually really convenient for me because I was raised very much, in the country, and like the closest really big city was about 2 hours away. And so I actually really appreciate having a Target and a Walmart in about a 5-minute drive from my house. But my house is kind of set back in a kind of quiet neighborhood setting. So it feels like I can get the best of both worlds. I've got a pretty big backyard that actually has like a little creek that runs through it. So I feel kind of secluded and quiet, and I have my space and my, moments where I can just isolate and disappear. But then, everything that I could possibly want convenience wise is about 5 minutes away. So it's perfect for me. I love the juxtaposition of both.
Talk about just kind of, joining this, the wedding community and, obviously, working with Amanda and helping out the wedding show, and you jump on this podcast and do things. I mean, talk about kind of building that web and that networking, and is that obviously how you get a lot of your work, but how do you focus on kind of expanding that out and doing new things like that and meeting new people?
Yeah, I really just pretty much at this point have been word of mouth, and that's how I like it, because since it is just me, my sister is amazing with makeup as well. So when I'm able to, book bigger gigs where there's more people and there's a smaller time constraint, I'll pull her in and we get to work together, which is super fun. But, really, I really enjoy getting to pick and choose. And so I am fairly picky with when I work and how I work, so that I have a lot of time to be with my kids when I have them. But yeah, I really do. Getting to do word of mouth it kind of gives me the opportunity to have a little bit more quality weddings, as opposed to just blasting myself and then taking whatever I can get. So I get to be a little bit choosy, and I'm really grateful for that.
What kinds of clients do you find that you like to work with, and that people that are attracted to you and your work, and then people obviously that you want to work with, because it does go both ways,
Yeah, absolutely. I have probably the most appealing to me is when there's like a family dynamic, or like, especially if it's a bride, like if her best friend or her sister is there and there's good communication and everybody's really relaxed. And, it's a lot harder to work on people who are, very uptight and anxious. And, especially if there's like a family dynamic that's off, or an overbearing family member who's encroaching into things. So I kind of tend to feel out for more relaxed vibes. And, like I said, it is part of my job to help create that relaxed and comfortable environment as well. So I have a pretty good energy picker as far as people go. I can tell pretty quickly whether we're going to be able to work well together or not right away.
What was it like, kind of some of those early weddings and making that transition? I look back at some of our early ones, and it's like you don't want to think about it sometimes, but then but you got to learn from. What was it like? Any fun stories, kind of making that the start, and any memorable ones or anything like that?
Oh man, I remember the very first big wedding that I did, and I took pictures at the pre-session for this bride of her hair, and she absolutely loved it, and I gave her what she wanted. But I just remember going back and looking at that picture and being like, "Oh my God, did I do that?" It's just, you're your own worst critic, and so overly critiquing everything was really intense. And then actually getting to the venue, everybody was still sleeping from the night before when I showed up with my team. And so we actually had to walk through the Airbnb they were staying in to wake up the wedding party, to try to get them downstairs and in the chairs so that we could stay on time. And somehow, miraculously, we managed to finish literally on the dot of our end time. But I will never forget, very timidly but slightly irritatedly walking through room in this house and just being like, "Okay, it's time. You need to get up now, please."
No, it's fun, and you go back, because it is kind of some of those early weddings, and you're trying to, you don't know if were they just crazy, or was it because I was newer and cheaper, and we we want one of our early ones, and it's this hotel room, and there's just beer bottles everywhere, and you're like, well, maybe if they weren't, because they weren't paying, as much, or you don't really know, but you're like, this is insane. There's just this, there's so much booze here. And if anybody is getting up right now, it's really, you just kind of look back at that. It's just, it's always interesting to remember kind of where you came from and then where you're going,
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Those first ones when you're just kind of trying to get started. And so, you're lowballing yourself a little bit just to kind of try and build that base, and then understanding, the difference in quality of you do get what you pay for. And so being able to understand your own worth and what you bring to the industry, and, really having confidence in your ability to produce a product that you feel you're able to price at a different level. I think people do appreciate that too, because in some ways, if you're underselling yourself, people are going to be like, okay, wait a minute, why are they so inexpensive? Like, what is that experience going to be like if it costs so little? And that was something I had to learn the hard way too, of, really getting over that insecurity of being like, oh, well, people want to pay that number, and just going for it. And the people that are, there's going to be people that won't bat an eye at it. And those are the people that, you end up having great experiences with both directions.
Yeah, that's the hardest thing in people starting out and like pricing and stuff. And like, yeah, the more, and obviously budgets and everything, but like, yeah, the more discussion that's around like the price or like, well, what can we get or what can we do versus like everything else of like, well, what services are you going to provide or what could I expect from this or what, like the more that's focused on that, yeah, it really is like, I don't know. It's just not an enjoyable. And I think that people remember that. Like I remember even like older weddings that I booked where it was a lot of concern about price. And then like, you get their day of and you remember that, right? And you remember like that's what they were so focused on and not necessarily like, how do you want to work or what should I do or what is this going to make it the best? You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the quality of experience has a lot to do with it also, because people, they may not remember you specifically or your name, but they will remember how they felt during that period of time in their life. And especially with a wedding when, you hope you only have one, that's something that you want to hang on to. And that's a moment that, we get to kind of create that experience and be part of that memory for them. And I think that's really invaluable and that's priceless.
How do you kind of keep things fresh and new? And do you had said that, kind of your whole career, you pick up tips and tricks, but how do you keep yourself, things new? And then how do you keep yourself kind of educated with like, if there's new products or new techniques or because your world changes a lot in terms of like what's kind of like the tools that are at your disposal,
Yeah, absolutely. Lots of trips to Sephora and Ulta. I do a lot of hands-on play. And, some of it, that's one of my favorite parts of my job is justifying, oh, well, this is new and everyone's talking about it, so I better pick it up and see what all the hype is about. So that's a big part of my job that I absolutely love. But I think part of it too, for me, is really just trying to keep that in some levels that this is my business mentality separate. Because one of my favorite things about doing makeup and doing hair is, like I said earlier, fashion is a huge expression of who you are. And so for me, if I'm constantly just grinding, then I lose the passion and the love that I have for this, which is what keeps me so interested and so focused. And I think that's one of the things that helps keep me unique too, is that drive to really love what I do. And so for me to be able to not overbook myself to that point where it is just a daily grind, this is just my job, but to really keep this my passion, which is one of the reasons why I've been named my company Inspired Radiance. I want to stay inspired. And so that means I am constantly playing with new products. I am constantly watching new videos. I'm, trying to keep up with what's trending and what people are talking about, and then playing with that for myself. Because I'm of the opinion, if you're not having fun when you're doing your makeup, you're doing it wrong. You need to put it down, walk away, and then come back when you're ready to play again.
No, I absolutely agree. And it's so hard. Like even today, I was on this like Facebook videographer group. It's like not just local people, but the guy, this guy's like, this it, like next year, like I'm totally burned out. Like I'm done. Like I don't want to do this anymore, and it's so like, disheartening, because you do want people to be really happy, and the burnout factor, is really real. I think with weddings and stuff, and I think it is like you're doing so important to pick the people that you want to work with, and obviously that you think you're going to have a good experience with, because obviously you want them to have the best experience possible, or else you wouldn't be doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a big part of something that we can bring to the table, is to keep it lighthearted and to keep it fun and to keep it focused on them. That this isn't just, one of the many weddings that you're getting to that day. In my experience, I've done 3 or 4 weddings at a time, because our time frame is different as opposed to like a videographer where you're there for the day, or a photographer where, this is like a 1-day, 10-hour job. There have been times where for me, it was, I think the most I did did in one day was 5 weddings, and that was way too many. I was definitely burnt out by the end. But to be able to keep it a very personal and, kind of focused and unique experience, and to stay present in that, and to really, enjoy what you're doing as well as helping them enjoy the experience, I think that's really important, and it makes a big difference.
Perfect. I think you've really killed it. I think this has been really good. I appreciate you coming on kind of, last minute, and basically me just being like, hey, you need to do this. And you saying, okay, that sounds good. But I do think it speaks a lot, just for willingness to want to try new things. Is there anything I haven't asked you about, anything else you wanted to share before I let you go? And I know that kind of puts you on the spot, but if there is anything, I want to make sure we give you an opportunity.
Oh, a little bit. I would just say, when you're choosing your hair and makeup for any event, be it your wedding or, a fancy dinner or, your high school pictures, whatever it is, just, go in open-minded and just really try to stay present and enjoy the experience, and pick somebody that you feel like you can connect with, because that will be a lot easier to determine, to get the results that you want, that they'll be able to work with you and talk with you and kind of see your vision.
Great. Perfect. So good. If people want to learn more about you and see your work, and where would you have them check out to get in touch with you?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram under Inspired Radiance Beauty, and you can go check out. I upload my videos or my before and after pictures every once in a while when I do them. I don't post a super lot on there because, like I said, I'm word of mouth. But if you want to go check out my work, that's where you can find me.
Perfect. Well, thanks again for coming on. If you are a wedding vendor and you're interested in coming on the podcast, you can go to www.bestmadevideos.com/podcast guest, and it's a nice little easy questionnaire to kind of get you in the system, and we can try and schedule something. And thank you again for taking the time on a Monday. I hope we survive this snowpocalypse that's coming or not coming. We're not really sure, but my wife was very nervous today about driving to work. So we'll see.
I think a lot of people were. The roads were dead. It was actually a pretty great day to drive to work. So
I know. Well, she had to go to the doctor this afternoon, and she said, "Oh, the roads were clear." I said, "Okay, thank God, we're good." So
we're good. We'll all survive.
Make it home in one piece. Thank you again. This has been another episode of Get to Know Your Wedding Pro. Check back next week for another wedding vendor interview. Thanks so much.